Guys, thanks for joining a special podcast tonight here with me. One of my best friends from high school, Josh Julian's here with us. What's up, Josh?
Hey, man. Just another day in paradise. So.
Thanks for joining us here.
Oh, yeah.
And we have been meaning to do a special recording for one of our best friends that passed away, Shawn Franklin, earlier in the year on March 25th. He was born September 8th, 1977, passed away in March 2025, and he just had a recent birthday.
Yeah.
Do you know what age he would have been?
He would have been 48 yesterday.
48 yesterday. Okay.
Yes.
And we're recording this on the 9th. It'll take me a couple of days to edit or what have you and share it. But we didn't want to go another day without doing this special video. Just me, Josh is a busy fella. I'm kind of busy. And so, But anyway, here we are. And so I just wanted to start by telling my experience with Shawn is I met Shawn probably first grade in Charleston High School. And Shawn was a friend to everybody. Yeah. I mean, back then, our high school, grade school, I mean, there's only 20 something of us, so everybody was really your friend. That's what I liked about Charleston. Yeah. Despite everybody being friends, we sure fought a whole lot, that I think that's just a small town country thing. But Shawn was a friend to everybody. And I knew him all the way up till fifth grade. Then I went to another junior school, and then I came back for Charleston High School. And we just kind of picked up exactly where we left off. And he was just a darn good friend. Yeah, we had a special group. Me, you, Mike Marlowe. I'm going to get these photos on the thing here, and we looked like not the roughest crew there, but we were kind of in the middle. Yeah, and Mike Marlowe, who we love, and he had his head shaved and had grew his hair out into a long ponytail, like the famous actor from the kickboxer movie, Tong Po. Yeah. And who wears their hair like that? Well, he did. And
the kids today call that a skullet. We didn't know to call it that back then, but Mike, he was ahead of his time there with the skullet haircut.
He was. He sing that kickboxer movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme and sing that evil guy, Tong Po. And it really did look cool. Yeah. And if you ever said anything to Mike Marlowe about that ponytail, buddy, you better watch out because you're going to get five-finger death punch coming at you.
He was ready to go at all times. So
we'll go ahead and talk about these photos here. This one here is one of our favorite pastimes of eating lunch. You know what I mean? Looking forward to school pizza.
Yeah. Highlight of the day at Charleston was Pat King's lunch. Yeah.
No doubt. And this was one of the booths. Everybody kind of had their own little spot here. And Shawn would always sit against that wall, to where he could kind of look out at everybody. And that's pretty cool. That was our own little area there that we had. And if you remember, here's another one of them. You remember Dottie from high school? Yeah. Yeah. She would come sit with us and give us all kind of like dating advice, because we were like, we're 16. How do we get a girlfriend? And you could just almost see her just lecturing us. Well, guys, here's what you got to do. And, you know, get your hair cut, stop smoking, and we just had a lot of fun. Here was a picture that I tried to, this did not make to Facebook. It wouldn't load.
Is that Cartwright?
That's Shawn Franklin, imitating assaulting Josh Cartwright for no reason for the lockers. That's pretty. That was a lot of fun. Back in the day, as you know, we didn't have cell phones, so I got the disposable camera from Walgreens or something and took a couple to school. But good dude. So how did you came to high school a little bit later, ninth grade or something? How did you meet Shawn?
I came from Bradley Jr. In the middle of seventh grade, and I didn't like Bradley Jr. It was way too many people. We went to Charleston, and I met Shawn like day one, and I thought, well, this guy, he's nice to me, and we kind of hit it off talking about video games. and then started talking about music and just struck up a friendship that never quit, you know. So we kind of got through 7th grade and then got through 8th grade, and you showed up in 9th grade. And I remember you walked in the gym or the what was that? The big, we had driver's ed in there, that little, whatever that was.
Oh, the
Auditorium.
assembly.
Yeah.
The auditorium room. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you walked in the door and Shawn's like, oh man, there's Mike Wallen. We were friends in elementary school, and you guys picked up right, I guess, where you left off. And I was like, okay, cool. Who's this guy? And that's when I got to meet you. And, you know, we've all been kind of friends ever since. So,
yeah. Super good dude. And then Mike Marlowe joined our dirt clan.
Yeah, he kind of showed up in 9th grade too. I believe he come to, I think he come from McMinn somewhere. He didn't want to go to McMinn Central because it was too big. And, that's how he ended up at Charleston. So
you're right. He was from the McMinn on the other side of the river there.
Yeah, he lived up in kind of, it wasn't Riceville, but I don't know, it wasn't far from there. It was out in the middle of nowhere. I've been there a few times. So
right. Okay. Yeah, man. Good times. Something that always stood out to me about Shawn was his love for music. And he got that from his mom.
Yes.
And his family. They were a very music driven family. I like music, and I liked my heavy metal. But Shawn would sleep to it. Shawn would, and you'd be I'd spend the night at his house, and I'd be trying to sleep, and he's got dadgum the Black Metallica album on a repeat,
repeat
for 7 hours. I'm like, how do you guys sleep in here?
Yeah.
But he loved his music. He was he turned me on to Def Leppard big time. And I was into, sometimes I'm kind of a narrow-minded person. I like my Metallica, my Megadeth, my Slayer, you know, and I don't really go too far from there, but sometimes I would, because I know, you know, there's awesome genres out there that I don't know of. And of course, everybody's heard of Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me, for the billionth time, whether you went to Walmart or Pizza Hut. But I never heard the whole album entirely, the album Hysteria, which is one of the best hard rock albums of all time. It's got love songs and rock songs, and he let me borrow that Hysteria tape. Of course, I never gave it back. I'm don't ever let me borrow anything, because I love it so much you'll never see it again. But
I think you still got a symbol of mine somewhere. So
I'll look over here for it. But he turned me on to Def Leppard, and I was like, this is an amazing. These guys are gifted, super amazing music. And he was big into Rush. Rush didn't stick with me for some reason.
Yeah.
But you guys loved it, huh?
Yeah, it was progressive rock. He took Rush and went to, I know you've heard Dream Theater.
Yeah.
One of the last conversations I had on the phone with him was, hey, the new Dream Theater album's out. Have you listened to it? And I was like, yeah, I listened about half of it on the way home from work, and it made me sick because they sound too perfect, you know. But he was always just like, hey, check this guy out. Check this guy out. And he would find metal bands, but like even in high school, he would be like, hey man, check out this Christian rock band. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, Christian rock, 94, we're not listening to Christian rock. We're still, Motley Crue and Megadeth and all that.
Right.
And you listen to them and you're like, man, that's pretty good stuff. And
heck yeah.
My whole life I could see, if I sat down and wrote down a list of all the bands he introduced me to, it would fill a notebook up, just because he'd be like, this song's good. This band's good. This guy can sing. This guy's a good guitar player. And I'd get bored with listening to music. I could just call him and say, hey, who's a good band to listen to that I haven't heard of before? And he'd be like, I remember this mid-20s, this 20 years ago, right? He's like, check out Amberlin. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, they're a Christian band, but they're kind of heavy. And I was like, okay. And then like 6 CDs later, I'm like, yeah, this band's pretty awesome, you know.
Yeah.
You could call him for, hey, what are you watching? You know, what TV shows are good? What movies are good? And he would always say, you know, check this movie out, and he'd give you a warning with it, like, okay, this one's kind of a slow burn. You got to stick with it for 30 minutes, and then if you don't like it, turn it off. But you're gonna like it. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 99 out of 100 times I ended up finishing the movie and going, man, that was a great movie. You know, he was always very artistic in music, art, you know, drama, all those things. You know. Just a special person. So,
And his songwriting,
oh yeah,
Josh, out of this world. We should have mentioned that at second too.
yeah,
This guy could write songs. He should have sold them to ASCAP, you know, or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
they were good. They
Yeah,
were good.
he wrote
He
stuff
would,
that he'd just sit down, man, just grab a notebook, start writing, and 10 minutes you got a song that's like, you know, we got to figure out how to put some music to this, you know, because this has got to
you
get out there, you
you
know.
want a good love song? This
Yeah.
guy had 100 of them,
Oh yeah.
and they were all just whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It would blow
And
your mind.
he would do a lot of his writing on the bus.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, those long
And
rides back home and to school, he would just sit there and,
yeah,
you know, just ride it out, man. So
super
he,
gifted.
yeah,
And
super gifted.
at some point, maybe before that or something like that, I think I started picking up the drums around maybe the 5th grade. I think
Yeah.
6th grade, I kind of bought some old U set kind of thrown together, and then Shawn, we just kind of like, okay, you play guitar, you write, I play drums
Hmm.
terribly, but super loud.
Yeah.
And so and then I don't know who knew Sammy. I knew Sammy from my cousin Eric Sipe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
I
knew
don't
Sammy.
know
I knew
how
him
we
too.
all met, but we started
Yeah.
playing garage band music together, and it was a blast.
Yeah. I met Sammy in kindergarten, right? I've been friends with him
Hmm.
since kindergarten. And I remember being at the mall with Jason Higgins and you and Shawn being at the mall to meet Sammy and Kevin about potentially starting this band. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, it didn't click who Sammy was until I saw him. And I was like, that's Sammy Oman. I've known him, you know, my whole life. And I was like, this is going to be good for you guys, you know. And
Yeah.
you guys got rocking out in your basement for a few months, I guess. And it was I come up there and you guys were rocking shaking the house down, man.
Yeah, for sure. The foundation is still messed up from that. We had a blast, and Shawn came up with the name. I mean, at that time, if there was a band that could describe kind of how we felt was or wanted to sound, wanted to look like was Skid Row.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Skid Row during that time was basically writing the anthem for rebellion youth, you
Yes.
know, and that was the go-to band, man. And
Yeah.
so he said he drew the album cover, and our band name was called The Threat,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. And it was a Skid Row had a song called The Threat,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
pretty much
we
where it got
kind
it
of
from. So,
just stole it from them, but
yeah.
haven't
There was a
heard
lot of
any.
Yeah, there was a lot of borrowing back then. I think it's, you know,
Right.
you know, I mean, Columbia House hasn't showed up at my house yet to collect on those 10 CDs I got for 9 cents. So I keep waiting on a letter, but you know,
Hopefully not. Well,
yeah.
but after this podcast, I don't know.
Well, I think the statute of limitations on all that is probably reached to the end, hopefully.
I used to order those all the time, and I'd be ordering all kinds of Iron Maiden and
Yeah. Yeah. I built my CD
Slayer,
collection from
and
that. Yeah.
then my parents would intercept the package of cassettes from Columbia House, and they sometimes it would get through the mail. Sometimes my parents would open it up and go, "Oh dear God,
Yeah.
no, you're not. Who? they'd be looking at the album covers, for Slayer
Yeah.
and Iron Maiden, and they'd be like, "All right, we're sending you to pastoral counseling.
Yes,
Just
there you go. It's time for
we can,
prayer.
we can't have this in the house." But you could always bring it to Shawn's house because
Oh yeah.
they love all the music. They love all the music.
Yeah, I remember a quick little story when I think I was in 8th grade, Christmas break, and I was going to go hang out with Shawn over the weekend, and my grandfather passed away. Um, and we had the funeral, and it was like on a Friday, and I was like, kind of bummed out because I love my grandfather, and my mom was like, "Why don't you go into Shawn's house? We'll get you up there, and you just hang out till Sunday or something." And I'll never forget the first night I was there. Shawn's like, "We're gonna watch this Led Zeppelin VHS double VHS video of, I think it was the Swan Song, the Madison Square Garden live, and we're watching it. It's rocking out. They got it hooked up to the stereo system, blasting." And he said, "Okay, so the drummer's going to do a drum solo here." And I already knew who the drummer was because that's who, when I started playing drums, I was like, I want to be like that guy. And so he did Moby Dick. And that was the first time I got to see the drum solo for Moby Dick at Shawn's house. And I can point that to that night and say that changed my musical career, which ain't much of anything, but I'm still playing drums 35 something years later, watching that, it changed my life. And Shawn introduced that to me. And that was the only time he introduced me to stuff that changed my life. I just remember being, 13, 14 years old going, well, I can't play like that, but I got a drum set and I can try,
Yeah.
and so the quest began from there on,
That is a world famous drum solo. And I
Oh, yeah.
remember him showing me that as well, and just being mesmerized. I mean, even though it was in the 70s, just going, wow, this is
Yeah.
kind of, you're watching the roots of heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so cool. They were very a musical family, and his mom is just sweet as you can get out.
Yeah.
And good,
Yeah. And
good.
I think the love for Rush come from his mom too. She was big into Rush and had seen him. I think she'd seen him 4 or 5 times live.
Oh yeah.
And, it's kind of like my dad pushing the Eagles on me because, that was one of his favorite bands, or CCR, which nothing's wrong with those bands. I like them, but it's like, okay, Rush, let's check it out. And I'm not the biggest Rush fan, but there's a lot of their songs I know and a lot of their albums I've listened to, and just riding up and down the road with Shawn. He's like, here's the new Rush album. Here's Roll the Bones, and throw the tape in the tape player back in the Trans Am, and here we go. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool, so learned a lot of Rush music from him. So
Yeah. I remember too, something about Shawn was just how funny he was.
yeah.
You don't really think of Shawn as being one of the funny guys, but he was.
Yeah.
And something that would always crack us up is, back then Seinfeld was really big.
Oh yeah.
Seinfeld was huge, and of course everybody watched it on Thursday nights, or I don't know when it came on, but Shawn was good. He could do a really good Kramer impersonation.
Oh yeah. He could come through the door and fall over everything and just, nail it,
Kramer had, I don't know, the slapstick comedy or whatever it is, where you're kind of crashing into things or close talking to somebody's face for no reason, or or all the things Kramer would do, and he would do it pretty spot on, and he would do it just every now and then, and it sure made our days at school go by fast. We weren't stressed for no reason at all, but I guess everybody is when you're going through school and high school and trying to, friends and sports and girls and stuff like that. But he was always good at just comic relief at the right time.
Yeah, he would always wait. Like he would be reserved with it and you would get almost in trouble, right? I can remember this so many times in classes. We'd be almost in trouble and be like, this is your last chance, chill out. And then Shawn something would just roll out of his mouth and we'd lose it and we'd get in trouble. It's like detention for everyone, everybody got detention.
Everybody that knows Shawn, detention.
Yeah, it was just like, he couldn't hold his mouth shut. It'd come in his brain and it'd just come out of his mouth and it'd be so funny we couldn't stop laughing, He was so good at that. And I can say that through the years, like we hung out in 2019 quite a bit. I had to move back to Tennessee for a little while, and he was still just spot on with the kind of dry, sarcastic. He was a mix of Kramer and a mix of Chandler from Friends. He could just, the little awkwardness, but it was always funny,
Yeah.
And he could just nail it. He was just one of the funniest people I ever met. So.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how I remembered this, but I did remember that his name was Eric Price. He was one of the football players, maybe in a grade or two above us.
Yeah.
And he nicknamed us the Dirt Clan.
Yeah.
The Dirt Clan. Dirt Clan, here they come. Dirt Clan, salute. Dirt Clan, watch your bag. Look out. And we're like, why are you calling us the Dirt Clan, man? He goes, well, there was a gang in my school, and they were called the Dirt Gang, and because they were always in trouble, smoking cigarettes and starting a fight or skipping school and just being rambunctious. And he's like, "You guys are the Dirt Clan."
Yeah,
and
I think we lived up to that too because we were always.
We did, unfortunately, yeah, we did.
We did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So we appreciated the gang name because we just used it. We took it, the old Dirt Clan.
Yeah. Miss Shawn, there's, yesterday I thought about him a lot most of the day. And it's funny. I was listening, just had my Spotify mix on and Wish You Were Here come on. And I haven't listened. I've never put that song in my Spotify, but we played that at his funeral. Right. And I was thinking, Shawn, sometimes I'll just be like, Shawn, are you messing with me? Or, I'm like, are you playing with my radio? And I'm like, if you are, just play Def Leppard or Rush next. And as soon as that Pink Floyd song come off, Hysteria come on. And my phone was in my pocket. It was just playing. And I was like, that first lick. And I'm like, I just had a big smile because I was like, yeah, that's Shawn, man. He's just watching over me. So, and it wasn't, I don't know, a little while later, Rush come on, and I was like, yeah, he's definitely messing with my playlist today.
That's wild. That is wild, man.
Yeah.
He's still playing DJ for us, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You remember all the mixtapes he would make for us of like, he would take, I don't know, LA Guns and Damn Yankees and Cinderella and Van Halen. He was just
Queensryche.
He would make like mixes, and they were the best albums you had in your collection because you're like, oh man, this is good,
Yeah.
He was just the master at doing that, and yeah, I thought about that yesterday because I never really listen to rock music much. I'm always listening to praise and worship because I'm learning a new song or getting ready for this. This week I got to play, and what am I going to play? But yesterday I was like, man, I'm going to listen to some just my rock mix and. Just because I had Shawn on my mind. And of course, the first song on there was that first song off Dirt from Alice in Chains.
Oh, wow.
It's got the screaming moan and the drop D, and it was funny because I bought that CD at Kmart in the mall with Shawn. I'm not the CD, the tape. I didn't have a CD player yet.
Right.
And we hadn't heard it. We knew it was good. It was Alice in Chains, and we pop it in, and I got the radio wide open at that point. At 16, you're like, radio stays wide open. Pop it in, and the first thing you hear is that big, and then heavy music. And as soon as it started playing, I was like, kind of jarred, going, that kind of gives me a flashback. So it was just a lot of little remembrances of him yesterday in music. And I don't know, the weather was like 72 here all day. It was just perfect weather. And I was like, just thought about him a lot. I was like, this was his favorite time of year. And
Yeah.
so, he's, like I said, at the funeral, I'll always carry a part of him in my heart. Because he affected my life that way. He was, a true brother. And there's days that I can almost feel his presence with me. It's like I'll be having a rough day and I just feel like, you know, he would always give me, I don't know about you, but he would give me like the wisest advice about certain situations in life. And I'm like, where's he getting this from? Because I mean, he never got married, he took care of his mom, but
Yeah.
I guess he had a lot of time to think in the last, I think 35, he had his first heart attack and, he had a lot of time to think about things. He had to just kind of settle down, calm down and chill out. So he had some of the wisest advice I could ever get from anybody.
Just a good friend. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys got really, really close after high school.
Yeah.
I was out doing my thing,
You
moving
and
and going, for
Colton.
school work assignments, and I went to Ohio and then out to Oklahoma and then back.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about his heart problems and if you can, and whatever
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
share, and kind of he just lost his health at some point, and even I don't know all the
Yeah, I can. I
info
mean,
about it.
I'm
Go
sure
ahead.
we could get. I mean, if we had time to get Tonya or his mom on here, I'm sure they could, really get to it. I know 20, 21 years old, we were hanging out, clubbing, doing all that stuff, and his mom and his sister were still living in those apartments up in Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
And Shawn was working at that polymer place,
Yeah.
45 hours a week. And we go out and party and stuff. And we started playing in a band with Sammy and a guy named Jason Cry. I don't know if you ever met him. He was a really good guitar player, lives in Atlanta now. But we got together, we started playing for about 3 months and we were getting pretty good. And Shawn always wanted a band, and something would always
Right.
come up, somebody would leave. And at that point, they were like, he was making too much money to live in those apartments, and his mom was working too and making too much money. And Shawn had to basically quit the band, and him and his mom bought a house, got him out of those apartments, and bought him a house in Calhoun. And he kind of disappeared because he was just taking care of his family, we didn't lose contact altogether, but from 21 to about 26, I didn't talk to him much, a couple times a year. I'd text him or try to get a hold of him. And sometimes the phone would be off and sometimes it, ring and he'd talk for 2 hours like he'd been hanging out every day. And I took a trip to Murfreesboro to see Sammy. And we were talking about Shawn, and we talked for hours about him, just missing him and stuff. And I was like, when I get back to Cleveland, I'm going to find out where he lives because it's Calhoun. It's not that big, I'll just drive around these neighborhoods till I
You'll find
find
them in
what I.
8 minutes. Yeah.
I was like, I knew what car he drove because I'd bumped into him at the gas station. And sure enough, I pull up on his street, and there's his little Dodge. He had a Dodge Neon at the time. And I'm like, well, it's Shawn. I'm just going to pull up here. And at worst case, I'll just say I'm a Jehovah's Witness or something, and see if I can get in the door. And man, he opened the door, open arms, and we just kind of caught up. And, Sammy got married. All our friends had got married. And I was like, I started hanging out with him a lot in my late 20s. And he was going through kind of a difficult time, and I was going through stuff, and we just kind of, we was there for each other. We was brothers, he like his air conditioner quit working, and I got a friend of mine to come look at him. We tried to get it going, and, just things like that, or just, going through things at work and dealing with life. And, he had that job, and he was, doing pretty good. And then some things happened. He ended up losing that job. I won't go into detail about all that. I can tell you that off the air, but um, he ended up losing that job right after I'd met my wife and got married, and we ended up moving to North Carolina. And I wasn't here about maybe 3 months, and Tonya called me, and he was working at Walmart third shift because he had to have a job, and he'd work. He was having chest pains all night, and you know, as good a person as he was that stubborn. So he wouldn't go like, he went and took a Tylenol and just kept going. And basically, he was having a heart attack for the last 3 or 4 hours of his shift. And he got home, he was white as a ghost. And Tanya's like, "You're going to the hospital." And it ended up being his first heart attack. They kept him for a while, got it kind of under control. He couldn't go back to work. So then he kind of had to go through the process of getting disability because his heart was beyond, he couldn't work a manual labor job. Had another episode a couple years later, got a stent put in. That kind of helped a little bit. Had a little more problems. I got a pacemaker put in there. And then he had, I think, another year or two, like about 5 years after his first one, he had another one. And so that was number two. And then I remember I had come back. I went to Tennessee. I'd been there about 10 months, and I got an opportunity to come back here and with a good job opportunity and be closer to my kids. And, I hated to leave him because he's my brother, but, he understood. He's like, "I get it, man. We'll hang out on the back end." Right. And, I think I was here maybe 6 months. I think it was Labor Day 2019. He had another episode and he was in the hospital for about a week. And I got up and drove to Cleveland like the day before Labor Day, hung out with him in the hospital for they kicked me out. I was there 8 hours. We were just catching up, just talking, just trying to, lighten the load and make him laugh. And he started going to a heart specialist after that. And I think they put a different pacemaker, they changed his meds or did something. And he was doing really good. He was going to the doctor when he needed to, getting checkups, but he had a history. His dad passed away of a heart attack. His grandfather passed away of a heart attack. So it was hereditary. He had an uncle, I think, that passed away at a young age, like Shawn's age, had passed away with a heart attack. That I never met that guy, but I'd heard a lot of good things about him. He was a really good guy. So, it's probably a lot of what Shawn took from that relationship. And Shawn loved his grandfather, his mom's dad. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the greatest guys I ever met. He did upholstering over there in Tasso forever.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I would go over there and pick Shawn up for like junior, senior year when he was living with him. Mm-hmm. And, I would talk to his grandpa as much as I talked to him just because he was a cool guy. Like my grandfather, he welded, so they knew each other, and his grandma and my grandma were like fourth cousins. So, we all knew each other and didn't really know we knew each other till later in life. But he was around a lot of good men in his life. And he was just he turned out being a good man, but he always was. I can't ever remember him doing anything out of malice or, showing any kind of hatred. Like he didn't like certain people, but he just let it flow, Now I can remember a couple of things, maybe my 16th birthday. We won't name any names, but there were some eggs involved and some toilet paper and maybe some mailboxes. And you hanging out the back of my sister's Malibu and just, craziness. And then going to Taco Bell and going to the drive-through, and I'll let you yell this if you want to.
Green hell!
Yeah, green hell, man.
Green hell.
That was one of the funniest nights. We were probably back to my house by
Which is a
11 o'clock.
Metallica cover song from somebody, and then they came out with Garage Days revisited. And in the very beginning of the song, it goes Green Hell. It may be the Misfits, actually.
Yeah, we were,
but
we were cranking that radio that night, man. We were up to destruction, no good. But other than just some teenage angst, we really, we were pretty good kids.
yeah.
We didn't get into serious trouble, Now we did, I think sometimes we might have. You skipped school to do a Bible study one time, right? Am I remembering that right?
If I remember having Bible studies, I got converted when I was a senior, and I just had this wild experience. In my church, there was this youth revival taking place, and that's when I just really got to a Christian. Oh, okay. Like it just became real to me.
Yes.
And what was my point to that? Oh, but no, I don't think I ever skipped school because we had so much fun there. You never knew
I think
whose locker would be set on fire or who'd be fighting.
Yeah.
But I remember starting a Bible study in the ag shop.
Okay. Was there not a day that you had it at your house and Keith Beatty showed up?
God, I hope not. I don't
For
remember.
For some reason, I thought, no, wait, I apologize. It wasn't your house. It was in the parking lot at school in the Ford Aerostar van.
Yep.
I think Keith Beatty came out there and was like, thinking you guys were like burning down, and he
no
opens the door and you're all sitting there with the Bible, right? And like Goods in there reading the Bible.
Yeah. It's like 4 or 5 people with their Bibles open in our minivan, and he didn't know what to think of it. He thought,
like, what are you doing?
He thought he was going to catch a meth lab operation or something like that.
You're,
like, no,
you're there spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ to
that's right.
Lost people.
We're in the book of Romans, brother. Leave us alone.
Yeah, come on in, jump in here, Keith. Well,
he still didn't leave us because we were the Dirt Clan.
Yeah, he thought you were pulling the papers out of the Bible to roll doobies, I guess.
Some people couldn't accept that the Dirt Clan has become Christian now. We went Christian.
I remember you hanging up posters our senior year on lockers, inviting people to a Bible study at your house on like a Friday night, and you put BYOB, which back then meant bring your own beer, but you had it written out, bring your own Bible, which was hilarious,
Hilarious.
And it was those type of things that, your senior year, you took a stand for Christ, but I remember back then admiring you for you taking a stand for Christ and being in our senior year. And I was like, I really need to do that. But you left a legacy of that. And as I got older, I was like, well, I couldn't do it then, but I can do it now, and, once I got past about 23 or 4, I was like, this is ridiculous to try to keep up with all this when my heart is really trying to be centered around Christ, and at about 25, I accepted a call to preach. And, I did that for a long time. And this is another part of Shawn's story, the old truck stop up there in Charleston that we would skip school and go shoot pool at.
Yeah.
So this is like 2006, 2007, the church I was at, they would have a truck stop ministry at, I think it was 8 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I would go up there and have a little service, preach. And sometimes I just preach to the jukebox in the corner. And I thought that jukebox is going to get saved one of these days. But every time I would preach, the manager on duty would walk out there and go, man, you got the cook back here just tore up, and I'm like, well, tell him to come here. I want to talk to him, and he's like, no, he don't want nothing to do with you. Just he's under conviction, and Shawn, he come and helped quite a bit with that for a while. When I first had, me and my ex-wife had Luke, my first child, it was hard to get the whole family there because he got a baby. And Shawn would go with me. He brought his guitar. He would sing for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and he would.
And I
And
remember
that was,
hearing that, and maybe I was still out of state about that
yeah,
time, but I
I
just
think you
thought
were.
in my head, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I
That is
remember being
awesome.
up there. I was preaching a sermon. I was like, this is the same place that me and him used to skip school, come up here and shoot pool and play the NASCAR game in the back. And now we're out here trying to do something for God and serve Jesus. And I remember my sister had to go sing at a church in Benton one night, and we kind of just threw this band together. Um, and she wanted me to, I started playing guitar when I was about 25. I'd hurt my hand. I sprained my wrist, and I was like, well, I had an acoustic, and I just started kind of learning chords. And anyway, I ended up getting a Les Paul, and we were, I was getting pretty good at it. I don't play much anymore, but we threw this band together, and I got a drummer and a bass player, and I was like, Shawn, man, I need you to come, and I got an acoustic. Just back me up, help me out, because he's so talented, just playing music, just being a musician. And they had a microphone for him, and my sister's singing, and they didn't practice once before this. And my sister's singing, and Shawn just starts singing like harmony with her. And I'm like, it just got me tore up. I was like trying to play guitar, and I'm listening to Shawn kind of living out what he was really meant to do, like he stepped into his calling that night. And I told him, I said, I've played with you in 2-3 different bands. We played all the rock music, everything. I said, I've never heard you sing like you sung tonight. And I think maybe they sung a couple more times together, and then, kind of everybody started doing stuff. And, but that was, those are some of the greatest memories I have of like after school stuff, like he got kind of his life together, because you face immortality when you've had a heart attack. You know what it's like. You were laid up in the hospital for a while, and I'm like, what's going on with Michael? He's in good shape, but you can't help what happens in your body. God kind of controls that. And you've been there wondering what's going to happen. Am I going to see tomorrow? And I'm sure Shawn went through that a lot.
It's
And
extremely scary.
yeah.
Extremely scary.
I've had diverticulitis and spent 3 days in the hospital, and I'm like, it was painful. It was terrible. And I'm like, just laying there thinking, am I going to die from this pain? Is something going to bust, but God healed me of that. And
Awesome.
Shawn, in the later years, he really got close to, he was reading the Bible. He was, seeking God in everyday life and having a relationship with him. And one of the last things he told me, and I think I told you this at the funeral, was he'd made a little friend at the food line over there on Stewart Road, and a little older lady that was a cashier or something. And he called me one day. This was one of the last times I talked to him. He goes, man, I prayed with this little old lady at food line today in public out loud. And that's, Shawn was not the type to pray out loud, because he
That's
was
big for anybody to do.
Yeah. And he was, he grew up in a Church of Christ, where you and I have spent the majority of our life in Pentecostal churches, right? If we're praying, sometimes it ain't always in a tongue, what's going on, it's like you got to have an interpreter. So for us to do that, it's like, I don't have a problem praying with somebody out loud, but for Shawn, that was a big step. And he was like telling me, I just feel it's eerie to go back and think about it, because it's like February. He's like, I've gotten closer to God than I've ever been. I'm in my word. I'm in the Bible. God's showing me so much, and he's just healing my heart and some of the painful things he went through in his life. Cause his mom and dad divorced, and his mom got remarried, and then they divorced. And, he was taking care of his mom, and she was taking care of him. And, he went through a lot of painful stuff in his life, but God healed that. And put him together. And then, I'll believe this the rest of my life. I think God took him when it was his time, because God knows your end from your beginning. And he was suffering. He was having physical problems, and, money you know how money is. It's tight nowadays. So, he was going through a lot of stuff, and God um, gave him his glory, got him to heaven, and got him to a place where he has no more suffering, no more pain,
Right.
no more. I know he didn't want to leave his mom and his sister and his nephew, or me, or you, or all our friends. But when it's your time to go, it is. And God took him out. And I believe, I'm one of those that when you take your last breath, the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And I believe he stepped from here to eternity, and he was instantly relieved, and no more pain, no more sorrow, no more suffering. Got to be with his grandfather again, his grandparents, his loved ones, and he was gone like that. What I was told was, he told his mom, I'm not feeling good. Like, this don't feel right. And she kind of turned around, held his hand, and then he was gone, just kind of out. And they called an ambulance. They worked on him all the way to the hospital, got him in the hospital, kept working, and just couldn't get him back. But, and Shawn being Shawn, he was an organ donor, right? So they had to get what they could get before it, got to the point where, okay, we can't use this, or we can't use this. And that's kind of why, it was March 25th when he passed away. And then it took a couple weeks till we could have the service, because in his last act of love, his selfless love, he gave, organs away and whatever could be used. I mean, I'm pretty sure they probably didn't use his heart, but I'm sure, kidneys and whatever they could use, they did, skin,
Right.
just,
Wow.
he was always, he loved people. Sometimes he didn't know how to show it to them verbally. He could write it down and give them. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times he would give notes to people in school, and just be not like a love letter either. Just like, hey man, you're a great person. Don't give up. I see you struggling. Or even to a female, he'd be like, I ain't, not trying to hook you up or anything. I'm just, hey, you keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And there's people out there that love him and always will, and remember him for, the fun guy, the kind of quiet, funny, fun guy, very talented person that he was back then. And, a lot of people measure success by, marriages, children, houses, cars, money, and all that. And, maybe he didn't have all that stuff, but he was loved by so many people, and is missed by so many
Yeah.
people that kind of thing, you can't really measure that. That's something that, when you touch people's lives, that's all I can hope for every day is touch somebody's life in a positive way. I'm sure I touch people's lives in a negative way every day with, sorry, I can't fix your copier today. I've got to order a partner, mad and upset. But I don't, especially since he passed away, I'm like, it is what it is, man. Life's too short to get, upset over some, meaningless little part for a copying machine. It'll be here when it
Right.
gets here. So, but he definitely found me. He left me better than he found me. Just our relationship. Just the things he would call, he would text. Like, my dad was in the hospital last fall. He didn't know that. Didn't have a clue about it. It wasn't on Facebook because my dad's real private. And just one day he texts me, he goes, how's your dad doing? And I'm like, did he hear something? I was like, I said, he's kind of going through it, man. He's in the hospital. And he said, I just kind of felt it in my spirit to check on your dad. He loved my dad. My dad loved him. He was like a second dad to him. And I was like, yeah, man, just pray for him. And I know he was praying, and he was checking on him every couple of days. He's like, how's your dad? Is he home yet? He's still in the hospital, and He said, I'd give anything in the world to go over there and see your dad, but like he was getting over COVID and he'd had some lung issues. And he's like, I don't want to go over there and, drag anything in the house. But he was just that type of person, man. He would text you out of the blue and be like, you okay? And he had no idea I was having a bad day or just dealing with something I didn't want to deal with. And now there were plenty of times that I would talk to him and he'd be having a bad day and I'd be fine. And he was just one of those friends that he'd listen to you and you could listen to him and you could bounce things off each other and try to give each other the best advice for that situation. And we got each other through a lot of hard times and we got through a lot of good times together. Just enjoying being brothers, just he could always find the funny part of any situation, and sometimes that would get his mom kind of riled up a little. But it was always funny to see he would say something and she'd just kind of turn and look at him with this, now, Shawn, you need, and it was just from 15 years old. Probably the last time I hung out, we were 42 or 43, and she'd just turn and look at him like, don't you start, Shawn. I know what you're doing back there. So he was just a good guy,
An amazing guy. Amazing guy. Every day that I went to school, if Shawn was there, I'm good.
Yeah, it was a good day.
If Darren Good is there, we're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was a part. He was a bigger part of your life, but my time with him during high school and it was just an amazing experience, and it is just bizarre and just strange and hurtful to see your friends pass as we're getting older. Pardon me.
Yeah.
But well, man, you've done a great service here, memorializing him and sharing your stories and your experience with him. Anything? I mean, I can't think of a better way to end on. You got any final thoughts about him?
I will say this one thing, just going back to high school a little bit. It's just a funny story maybe to end on here, but I remember we got the bright idea, you and I and Shawn, and I think Sherry, I don't remember her last name.
Smith.
Sherry Smith. I believe the football team was going on a playoff game and everybody was checking out early.
I remember this.
So
I remember this.
We get the bright idea. Well, let's leave early. We'll just go to the mall, right?
We're going to skip school and go to the mall. And that sounds so lame. But back then,
that was the thing to do, right? I mean, that was it. We were going to go to whatever the disc jockey or CD store was,
right.
Walk all over the mall. We hang out. And we're like, all right, man, we got to get back, and everybody's got to catch their bus. And we walk out in the parking lot, and my car is not in the parking spot, in which case that I parked.
Unbelievable.
And I'm like, I got to get you guys back to school. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I think, I can't remember the guy's name, but he drove a Mustang. He kind of pulled up about the same time, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, somebody stole my car, man. And I think he gave you guys a ride back to school. And I remember going in the mall, calling my dad on the payphone going, gosh, hey, I skipped school. My car got stolen at the mall. And it was just, and having to call the cops and all that stuff. But I'll never forget, I got home that night and I was just very dejected and very I'd worked and paid, saved up money and all that stuff. And you guys had all gotten home, and Shawn lived in Athens at that time, right? And it was long distance from Cleveland to Athens, but he picked the phone up and called me, and he's like, "Dude, are you okay? What can I do?"
That phone call costed back then?
Yeah, it was long distance back then. Yes. It was probably $5, right? And he's like, he told his mom, he's like, I got to call Shawn or Josh.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, man. And that was the kind of person he was. He's like, man, if I could be there and go look for this car with you, I would do it. And, that was the kind of person he was. He was upset. He was as upset as I was, But and he was there for me in all those kind of situations in my life, and I tried my best to be there. I remember going to his grandfather's funeral, and I don't think his dad had a funeral, but I remember talking to him when he passed away, and he'd come to my mom's funeral when she passed away, and we were just support systems for each other, and he was just one of the best guys you could ever call a brother, you know. And I remember after high school, and I'll say this, and we can wrap it up. But after high school, you went to Ohio, and now I think you made your way out to Tulsa. And I remember Shawn sitting around when we hung out. He's like, "Man, I miss Michael Allen. I wonder what that crazy guy's into, you know." And I'm like, "Bible college, I think, or you know, he's doing some things in college." And he was like, "Yeah, man, I want to see that guy again." And I think we did get together
We
one
did.
time at
Thank God
Aubrey's.
we did. We
Yeah,
did. Yes.
went up to Aubrey's. I think your brother came up. I think your whole like your brother, and both your sisters come up there, and Shawn was there. I think Sammy come maybe. I don't know. He might not have
Yeah.
been there, but we kind of hung out for a few hours and just had a good time. Kind of caught up, and I remember leaving, and Shawn was like, "Man, it's so good to see Michael Allen," you know. And anytime we would see somebody that um, we were friends with, it was, you know, we maybe bumped into Mike Marlowe somewhere down the road and got to hang out for a few minutes, and he was just like, "Man, it's so good to see them." He was always so upbeat about just everybody, and had a great, you know, he had a positive attitude toward everything, or toward everyone. Now sometimes he would let life get him kind of down in the dumps, but he kept fighting back. And I remember, and this is a perfect way to end it, but through it all, every time he'd go through something, man, I'd be like, "I know you've been through a lot, man, but just keep hanging on." And he'd say, "Well, this is not a Bon Jovi reference or nothing." He just said, "I just always remember, just keep the faith." And he said, "Just keep my faith in Jesus, and I can face anything."
He would say that a lot. You're right.
Yeah, and he did that. That's, you know, he kept the faith up until the moment he got to go be with Jesus. So, just
And
a
that's the only
phenomenal person.
way I want to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I want to go in my sleep and then wake up in Jesus' arm, but you know, you can't take that, you know.
I want to be in that place like you're describing he was, where you can absolutely tell that you are close to God. Nobody's perfect, but you're in a relationship with God.
Right.
And to where, whether it's 3 p.m. or 3 a.m., if the Lord calls your name, you know you will go right on into heaven.
Yeah.
Because of your relationship with God.
That's right.
That's awesome to leave us with and to challenge us.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for this. We're going to share this on Facebook.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I hope some people watch it and get something out of it, and just remember Shawn. You know, I'm like I said this at the funeral. I'm gonna spend the rest of my days carrying a part of him with me. And I talked to Sammy about this, and I think I talked to you about this. At some point, one of us is going to bury the last of us. One of us is going to have to go to everybody's funeral. And so Shawn got to go first, and you know, I don't know if he's got bragging rights in the afterlife or what.
Probably.
You know, I'm going to give him a big hug when I see him, and it's going to be good. But you know, I challenge anybody and everybody that if you've got friends like me and you've been friends for well over 30 years, 35 years, I guess now. You know, you need something, or you just need to talk to somebody. You got my phone number, and I'm pretty sure if I called you, and if you couldn't answer and I left you a message, you call me back, you know. Same way with me, man. And those people in your life that are like that, just hold on to them, cherish them, because you never know when your day comes and God calls you home. So,
yeah. Well, man, this has been awesome, and we continue to pray and support his family.
That's right.
Tonya, his sister, his mom. He had a a bunch of people there, nephews and such. I didn't know a lot of those people,
Yeah.
but that was cool how that family has grown.
Yes,
And
I spoke with Tonya, or I messaged Tonya yesterday, and just, I pray for her every day. But I told her, I said, I'm praying for you, thinking about you today, and that's her brother, her real brother, and she sent the same thing back to me. She said, I've thought about you today, and I'm praying for you too, because she knows he's one of my best friends ever and a brother. So, I encourage you, if you know him, to reach out and talk to him too. Check on him and just. Man, I don't know. The older I get, the more I just want to love people, and
I do that too.
I think that's the Jesus in my heart that wants to come out. And I'm sure some people might roll their eyes at that, but yeah, I mean, I just want to be a person that can show love and share love with people,
Yeah.
in everyday life. And I know He's called you to that, because you've always had a way to. You can make people laugh. You could talk to them. You have no hesitation in talking to a crowd, and God made you that special way. So you just don't ever forget that, man. Just know that God uses you every day, and I try to let Him use me as much as possible. And yeah, man, this has been a blast. And if you ever, I don't know, want to do anything else, you just let me know. This has been a lot easier than I thought it was, but I was a little bit nervous, but I'm pretty
It's a
good.
lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. So I'll be looking forward to the final cut. And yeah, man,
Yeah.
this will,
Yeah, for sure. I just feel challenged by Shawn
yeah,
to continue my relationship with God in that
yeah,
way. And then also, I just challenge everybody out there: your best friends in high school, do your
mhm,
best to keep in touch with them. You
yes,
know,
yeah, absolutely,
especially when you get beyond your 40s and beyond. I mean,
yeah,
if you can, stay in touch with them, and then do your best to take care of your health and your heart.
exactly,
And the heart attacks, they say, and I'll kind of wrap it up with this before I get on
yeah,
my heart sermons.
yeah,
But um, it is the silent killer, because we mistake it as stress, or I did too many push-ups,
yeah,
or I've got heartburn.
hmm,
And it's such a weak pain. It's like me, and it's
hmm,
real easy to push down and
okay,
ignore that. And I did too. But I just challenge everybody out there: if you're having chest pains, heart pains, if it's bad enough, go straight to the ER and get
exactly,
the experts, because they'll start working on it immediately. And a lot of people's lives can be spared through stents. I got
hmm,
one,
hmm,
and Shawn got a couple that enabled him to prolong
yeah,
his life. But that would be my message. And
absolutely,
so
man. Yeah,
I've
and
actually lost weight since you've seen me. I don't want to
yeah,
brag too much here,
yeah,
but
you look a little slimmer, so
say
um,
slim. I've went down. Maybe I've lost about 20 pounds. I cut out sugar
that's good.
for about
That's
4 months, and so that's why maybe my shirt looks a little baggy tonight.
Yeah,
But I don't.
I thought, man, your shirt's really big.
Yeah, I'm.
I went to the doctor last week. I've lost, I don't know, 8 pounds, and I'm trying, just the main
I
thing
can
that
tell.
people our age, like I was very bad diabetic 13 years ago. Like I had to go to the doctor. I was going to die. Right. And so they put me on blood pressure medicine. They put me on, diabetic medicine. And in 2020, I got to the point where I was not taking anything for my medicine, for diabetes. I was working out. I was under 200 pounds. I was in really great shape.
All
And then
right.
that COVID showed up and they closed the gyms down. And by the
Yeah.
time it was open up, I was in mid 40s, and I was like, where'd my energy level go? So I'm slowly working. When you got two kids that are now bigger, I mean, they're both taller than me. They're throwing 225 up, and it's kind of like maybe I need to go buy some 15-pound dumbbells and start
Heck yeah.
doing some home workouts. So, but yeah, just being our age, go to the doctor, get checked out, check your blood pressure, get your physicals every year.
That's what the doctor told me. He when I had my heart attack and I went to the ER, and he told me, he says, your heart has been telling you for 3 weeks about this, hasn't it?
Hmm.
And I said, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did make an appointment, like I ignored it for a little bit because I was in good shape, I thought. But then I was having what they call the angina, chest pain right here, almost in the bone. And I'm like, well, that can't be my heart. That feels more like my sternum needs popped or
maybe I popped something working out.
Exactly. But he says the heart, God made the body. It will tell you when it needs help.
Yeah.
And so anyway, just a lot of good messages and challenges for us tonight.
Absolutely.
And Josh, thanks for coming on. And Shawn, brother, we love you.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We will see you when we see you, and much love to his family. And Shawn, thanks for all the good memories and being one of our best friends.
Absolutely. Thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Look forward to seeing the final cut. So, all right, man.
All right, man. God bless everybody.
You too, buddy.